Ayelet Levy Shachar turned down an invitation to get on Benjamin Netanyahu's plane to Washington. Her daughter, Naama Levy, was kidnapped by Hamas gunmen from an Israeli army observation post near the Gaza border on 7 October. It was not a political decision, she told me.
We are taught to be enemies, but in reality, we have a lot in common and we're friends. We may still disagree on some things, but we're friends who respect each other and want each other to be happy.
To be asked by the Israeli Prime Minister, but the timing was wrong. Ayelet's face lights up when she talks about Naama, who turned 20 years old in captivity, describing her as a determined and fun-loving young woman, a good student and athlete. She's hopeful her 9-month nightmare might be coming to an end. We have heard from defense and security forces that they're reaching the point of breaking a deal, she says, and we have never before been in such a promising point at that sense. Nothing should be distracting at this point. This is what we should be dealing with right now. I'm asking and hoping that our Prime Minister's commitment to this will be his first priority. Some relatives of men and women still held captive in Gaza did travel to Washington with the Israeli Prime Minister. They were joined by Noa Argamani, the 26-year-old woman who was rescued by Israeli forces in June. It was a controversial decision, as those campaigning for the hostage release deal had been holding protests urging Mr. Netanyahu not to go before bringing their loved ones home. When the Israeli Prime Minister arrived in the U.S. on Monday, he told families of the hostages that an agreement could be nearing. But that military pressure on Hamas must continue. We see that the enemy's spirit is starting to break, he said, at the first meeting of his visit. I believe if we are steadfast in this, we can achieve a deal. I am not prepared in any way to give in on the victory over Hamas. This week, Israel confirmed that 2 more of the hostages had died in captivity several months ago, one of them possibly killed by Israeli military fire, a reminder of the cost of delaying a deal. Ayelet told us that Naama had arrived at the observation post just 2 days before the Hamas attack on Israel last year, after completing her basic training. I don't think she knew where the safe room was, her mother said. She did find it and sent a message from there, the last her family heard, before a video surfaced showing her with tied hands and bloodied sweatpants being forced into the back of a jeep. Last week, the families of the 5 female soldiers kidnapped from the observation post published photos of them in their early days of captivity to remind the world about their daughter's fate. Based on information from hostages released during a previous ceasefire and exchange deal in November, Naama's family understand that her captors moved her from place to place to avoid Israeli military action, and that she had shrapnel injuries in her legs but was able to walk. They've been told by Israeli security forces since then there is proof of life without being given details. The latest information they have is that she's being held in Hamas tunnels. Thinking about her daughter helps give her strength to cope with the grinding fear and uncertainty. I wake up in the morning and she's still there. I count the days, I count the minutes. How can I stop? She says. I think she's very strong. And maybe I'm, focusing on that belief that she's very strong and determined and smart. And she can survive this.